Hi everyone, and welcome to Martin's Home and Garden's Houseplant of the Week. This week we're super excited to be talking about a rare plant that's hard to find. It's not the easiest plant to care for, but we'll kind of dive right on into all of that. So without further ado, the plant we're talking about this week is a dragon's tooth alocasia, also known as Alocasia longiloba. So these are a really cool alocasia in the fact that you can't really find them everywhere. They're a really good size, especially for, what you can typically find alocasias at in normal nurseries. Usually they're kind of more of a starter plant, where these are already pretty large, which is pretty great. These plants thrive in high humidity, so they're native to Asia. So you kind of want to try to recreate that in your house, kind of like we talk about every week. They like moist soil, but it also has to be really well drained, and they like really bright indirect light. So the care level for these is pretty moderate. These aren't a plant I would say come out and buy if you haven't had alocasias before, or at least had some difficult or more picky plants. So with these plants, you kind of want to know a little bit more about what you're getting into than with a snake plant, because snake plants you can neglect. These you kind of have to stay on top of. With these plants, it is pretty important to remember that when you water, you want to use filtered water. They really don't respond well to stress, and the whole fun part about these plants, what you're really looking for, is the foliage. So whenever your plant gets stressed out, what you're going to notice is the leaves are going to yellow. This could be from any different stressor, but really what you want to watch out for is just anything that is out of the ordinary for these plants. You don't really want to do it. So get into a niche of watering, get into a niche of humidity levels, light, don't move it too much, and just kind of remember to keep it pretty much the same, or it's going to kind of freak out. A leaf's going to turn yellow, and that's the whole point of the plant, is the foliage, so let's try not to lose that. I did mention to use filtered water when watering, or you can use like distilled, really just not tap water, like not hard water. Try to use soft water. Whenever you do use a humidifier or spray the leaves or something like that, just make sure that you're not getting any kind of excess water. You do want to like spray them off, but you don't want them to be like soaking wet, saturated all the time. So if your alocasia is not drying out a little bit, that might be something to watch out for, because they are kind of prone to root rot, so you don't really want that to happen. I do recommend, even if you're using a humidifier and misting the leaves, to go through every like 3-4 weeks and wipe the leaves down with a like damp washcloth, stuff like that. These plants are toxic to pets, so just make sure that they don't chew on the entire plant and eat it, or just not a good idea. Keep it away from paws and little hands. So I would recommend with these to make sure that they're like near a sunny window that has at least 6 hours of bright indirect light, just so you get that really good growth. But also, if it's winter time and you know that spot's drafty, move your alocasia somewhere else and supply light some other way. They don't like drafty windows, so try to keep that pretty much to a minimum. The standard temperature for these is 65 to 80 degrees. So making sure that if you do put it outside, it's not baking. Even in the shade, we want to make sure that the temperature is nothing crazy. In Tennessee, where we are, I know that it can get really hot. So just kind of monitor what the temperature is going to look like for your alocasia. I also recommend that you fertilize every 2 to 4 weeks during the growing season, never during the winter or fall, with just a general houseplant food. My favorite general houseplant food that I've talked about multiple times on our YouTube channel is Super Thrive. I water with it very frequently. It's just a really good option for your plants. It's a vitamin, it's all natural. It's just a really good option for all of that, and it's really easy to use, which is why I like it. And I have a bottle that I've had for like 3 years. It lasts forever. And then these plants only need to be repotted every 2 to 3 years, depending on how much they've grown. So if you have like this amazing glass house or something and your alocasia gets perfect light and humidity and everything year round, you might have to repot a little bit sooner than somebody who's kind of giving it a little bit less. So just kind of remember that and try to take that into account. Just watch the roots of your alocasia and kind of go from there. As far as when you do repot, I recommend using a soil that is very light and airy and has great drainage. So sometimes we can notice that if soils are really light and airy when you get them, if they have like a lot of peat in there, that can get really condensed, really compacted. My tip for everybody on that accord is to go through and aerate the roots. Take like a coffee stirrer, really anything that's going to be gentle on your plant and small, and just aerate that soil real well, just making sure that if there's no oxygen in there because it's so compacted, it's not good for the plant. The roots need oxygen. So just make sure that you keep up with that. A good soil that I recommend for repotting alocasias is our African violet mix. It's just branded for African violets, but it's really great at water retention and aeration and really just has optimal drainage. So that's what I would do if I were to repot an alocasia, but I would try to do it as minimally as possible. So let's not stress them out, remember? Yeah, so that's really all we have to talk about when it comes to alocasias. Well, dragon's tooth alocasia. I would remind everyone these are a pretty expensive rare plant, so come check them out, see what they look like to decide if you really want to spend the money on one. Ask us some questions, and we will see you this week. Have a good one, y'all.